Hi, my lovelies. My name is May, and I help people who are stuck, are confused on their mental health journey, learn how to actually heal. They can cope with and move beyond their symptoms and experiences so they can feel a life that's fulfilling and feel like it's worth living to them. And today I want to talk about depression and hopelessness. This is going to be a series on this channel about just the different experiences that come with mental health and what you could specifically do about them, because mental health stuff is hard and sometimes you need help in a very specific area. So today we're going to be talking about depression and hopelessness. And hopelessness, when I was doing research for this video, I found it very interesting, the advice that was given both on Reddit and other forums, but also with more academic, psychological or therapeutic means as well. It was interesting to see that a lot of people talked about, getting exercise, reaching out to people, drinking water, right? And I almost feel like, maybe that does help when hopelessness is can be a constant or really intense thing. But I've been very intimate with that feeling of hopelessness a lot of my life. And I'm drinking water is not gonna help, y'all. It helps, sure, but it almost feels like the cherry on top and not the actual cake. What is cherry on top for? Is that sundae? It's not the ice cream, whatever the foundation is. It feels like something that will, kind of help. Sprinkles on ice cream, let's say that. It feels like the sprinkles where I'm yeah, that definitely does help. It's definitely good for my body. I think I feel a little bit better, but it doesn't change my hopelessness. It doesn't actually go deep into that experience and change it. So I wrote, you realize it's hard to get out of bed, right? So today we're just going to talk about some tips and just some invitations for dealing with depression and hopelessness. If you feel like this is dangerous for you right now, you are, feeling really hopeless in your life and you may have plans or things like that, I really urge you to go seek out immediate crisis help. This is not for people who are in crisis. You can watch this if you are in crisis, if you feel like it will help, but if you are in crisis, please just get the help that you need and reach out. And I want to keep this video real as well. Hopelessness and depression does not equal crisis. Some of us just feel that a lot, and it's just an experience we deal with a lot. So yeah. So my first tip is feel it. I know. Why? It's feeling it and not fixing it or running away. Just kind of living in it a little bit. And I think this is important because there's so much, I think about this in a couple different ways of spirituality, but also just repression. But what we resist persists, right? So if we resist the hopelessness and just try to get out of it or shove it down, it's going to come back because we're not really processing it. We're not going through the emotion. We can't go over or under or around emotions. We have to go through them. We have to try to not fix or get out of the hopelessness all the time. If engaging with hopelessness brings you into crisis, then by all means don't. I don't think I could deal with my hopelessness for a pretty long time. Probably a year after I was hospitalized is when I could probably intimately deal with it. So, the work then, if brings you into crisis, is touching it when you can, gently, feeling it, feeling the experience within you and letting the narratives run. And as soon as you feel like it's getting too far, snap back. But that's the work there. If it doesn't feel like you can really engage with it, is just engaging with it when you can and having those supports in place so you don't fall into deeper hopelessness or doesn't get dangerous or crisis situation. But sometimes we try so hard to get out of our experience or into the experience. What did I just say? Sometimes we just try really hard to get out of the experience by fixing it or running away, because there are parts of ourselves that really want to support us and they are trying to help us stay away from that feeling of hopelessness or experience of hopelessness. And we're sometimes we're doing so much we don't actually just go through it, like I said before. So also figuring out what moving through that experience means for you. Maybe it's feeling the felt sense of it, letting the narratives play out until the end and then challenging them, or just being I don't actually believe any of that. Letting your body go through the terror or just being so down and depressed, right? Yeah. If you feel like you're in a spiral or sit in it, then maybe not. But that is part of the work. Just because you're spiraling doesn't mean you failed or something. It's okay, I figured out I spiraled. Why did I spiral? And what can I maybe try differently next time so I don't spiral? Number 2 is, do you want to feel something different or do you want to stay where you are? And I think this is really asking ourselves, like, do we feel like we're able to get out of this hopelessness? And do we want to get out of this hopelessness? I think the answer is probably always going to be yes. But yes means different things. What do I mean by this? So I think everyone's going to say, like, yes, I don't want to be hopeless, obviously. But the work to really when we talk about doing the work to really get out of that hopelessness, people's reactions can change. Because internal work can be very hard. It can be very difficult. And a lot of people run away from it. Or they just try to distract themselves with daily life, right? To not really engage with it. Obviously, it's not all or nothing. I'm not saying everyone. But there are a lot of people who do that to get out of the experience. So I think really, like, asking yourself, are you ready? Do you want to, and are you ready? Because you could want to and not be ready, or you could be ready but you don't really want to. And if you're not ready or you don't want to, it's okay. Like, that's okay. You know, like, there's a multitude of factors of why you might not be in that space, and that's okay. I think it's just like knowing that, accepting that, and being like, okay, what does being ready look like? How do I get myself to want to be something different, or want to move through this hopelessness? And then accept it and revisit this when you feel like you're ready, when you've reached a point where maybe you are. And if you don't feel like you're ever going to be ready, you know, that's when I just gotta be able to go for it. I'm like, just engage with it then. If you don't feel like you're ever actually going to get out of this, you know, just do something, right? Because doing nothing, the hopelessness, like, feeds on that. I feel like the hopelessness feeds on, oh, you're not doing anything. Oh, that's because, like, you're dumb, or life is worthless, or, like, there's no point in doing anything. And it just spirals more and more. So doing something, I think, is better than that, because you can hold on to that doing something, even if it's literally like going on a 5-minute walk, or like going outside for a second, or drinking a little bit of water, right? Holding on to something. And when the hopelessness comes, going back to that, I feel like can be really helpful. Now, number 3, I put, do you need hope, or do you need something else? Because hope, the opposite of hopelessness is hope, right? Hopelessness can feel like a lie when you're dealing with hopelessness about healing, or the world, or, you know, whatever is going on, right? And yeah, hope can feel fake, and hopelessness can feel more realistic. So I think it's important, just the distinction of, like, do I need hope? Because if I need something else, like, maybe I need to think about this in a very logical way. So, like, okay, let's say that you are feeling hopeless about the state of the world. You're like, everything's awful, everything's getting worse, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps it is seeking, okay, are things actually always getting worse? Let me go seek out information. Okay, let me actually think about this logically, because there's parts of us that'll be resistant because they're trying to protect us, and they're like, they kind of trick us. Right? They're like, oh yeah, think about it logically. Things are getting worse. Do you not see what's going on? But then, like, you could do news in the world, or, you know, what things are changing in the world about whatever topic that you feel hopeless about. And you'll see that there is evidence against it as well. Like, there are places in the world where things are getting better. So logically, it's actually like things are getting better in some places and worse in others. Right? And people have different ideas about what good and bad means. Like, it gets more complicated than how we can initially engage with it. So why I'm bringing all this up is because finding what you need when you are hopeless is important. And it's not always hope. It can be resilience. It can be courage. I always encourage people to think about their why of, like, why they're healing and what they're trying to get to, because that can give you the continued motivation and drive to continue on your healing journey, continue to the end, right? I think a big thing too is grit. Oh, I love grit. You know, working at something, even when it's hard and difficult. And so many people who deal with mental illness, especially like this, are very resilient. They're very resilient. They've developed a lot of skills and tools to get through hard experiences. Because when you're fighting yourself, whew, honey, you gotta, right? Number 4 is, where does this hopelessness come from? So this can be a very multi-layered experience, but I think, you know, hopelessness can come from a couple different places, of like a felt sense, you know, and also like a belief about the world. So it could be that your hopelessness comes from, you know, if you clicked on this video, you probably also deal with depression. So your hopelessness is probably linked to depression in some way. And when you are depressed, it literally changes how your brain and body reacts to things, right? So, but usually even deeper than that, it's like, what belief does your depression have about the world or the situation? What does that hopelessness feel like, and when does it come up? For me, it comes up when I can't see a way out of my internal world, when I can't access the aspects like curiosity or courage or connection, right? When I can't get out of my own head and out of my body, I will spiral 10 times. So I have to have a lot of tools in my own toolbox, because I know that hopelessness is rooted in pain, and it's rooted in parts of myself that could not see a way out of my circumstances when I was younger. So I have to try to get more into my adult self, and I have to try to connect with people who bring me into a different space. I also think that this can also be really related to polyvagal theory, where hopelessness often lives in the dorsal state. And polyvagal theory also there's different stories and beliefs that people have or in different states. So like, if you are very anxious and in sympathetic a lot, you have a certain view of the world. When you're in dorsal and like deep or whatever, and deep in the freeze response, you have a certain belief about the world. This is why when people like say they get new hobbies or something, and they have that more mobilization, like say they've been hopeless for a while and they start like golfing, I don't know why golfing came to my brain, that's what we're gonna go with, then they start to feel differently about the world, because there's a different story that is literally happening in different states. It's just how our brains and bodies work, right? If you didn't get that, it's fine. You don't need to understand polyvagal theory. I think people can also shy away from hopelessness, like talking about it, because a lot of people associate it with like crisis and giving up on life. And I would say a lot of what I've experienced as hopelessness is more like, okay, fan, is a quiet hopelessness, where it's kind of like I'm going throughout my day and my life, and I'm kind of like feeling hopeless, but kind of just like doing this life thing because I feel like I have to, or I'm like just trying to coast, or like maybe one day it'll get better. Like it's not always like I have a plan to exit the world. It's sometimes you just feel like I don't understand what the point of any of this is, and I just don't want to do it. I don't want to have to do any of this. I'm just only going to do the bare minimum because I just can't. I already am at my wit's end. I'm already not wanting to be here or not wanting to do this thing. And I think it's just important to try to meet ourselves where we're at in our hopelessness. And, my brain really goes, what is like the pathway from like out of hopelessness? What does that look like? I think it's different for everyone. For me, it took a long time, and I still kind of get into it a lot. But, that's the work. It's the internal work of, this is my experience and this is what I do to help myself. And I'm, my goal in this video is to try to give you some tips, some points, and I hope that something in this video can resonate, or you can latch onto, and you can maybe try it out and see if it works for you. But hopelessness is real. It's really hard in depression, and I hope that you can deal with it whatever way that works for you. And I'm really wishing you like luck and anything you need on that journey, because it's so hard, and I hope that this space can be like a space for you to kind of express that and land. So number 5 is keep experimenting and figure out what works for your depression. So if you have watched my How to Heal Depression video, our Simple Frameworks for Healing video, you'll know that the framework is finding out your why, and why is multi-layered, but figuring out your why plus intentional action plus experimentation equals see what the result of that experimentation was, and then rinse and repeat until you get the desired result. So if you have been battling depression for a really long time in hopelessness, the hopelessness has a lot of power, and it can almost seem like the holder of knowledge. Like, I know how things are going to happen. There's no point in trying to like do these things. And because you've been sad for a really long time, and you probably have tried other treatments. You probably have gone to therapy or meds or whatever, and you're like, well, that didn't help. What do I do now? And what I invite you to do is, no matter how small, how tiny, it could be a change of one thought that day, is to keep trying to experiment. Finding your why of why you want to get better can be very helpful in hopelessness, because it can keep you, keep your eye on the prize, per se. If you want to try to battle the hopelessness because you want to have a certain job, or embrace a certain feeling, or work towards having more connection with people, whatever feels good to you, or if you don't know, then we can try to experiment, right? And be like, what makes me want to live life? What makes me actually want to be here? And challenge this hopelessness. It can keep you honest, having your why. But I invite you, as much as you can, try new feelings. Okay, how does comfort feel? And what brings me comfort, and how do I get there? What brings me joy? Okay, how can I hold on to it? You know, having new goals, right? For me, I always have something planned for the future. Always. I always have like a trip planned, or even if it's like 2 years, okay? I'm really like, there's something that's going to happen at some point that I'm excited about, right? Also music, oh my god, like albums, I'm like, that's always coming out. There's always new music from my favorite artists, like, you know, eventually going to come out. What beliefs and practices can help you cope with or deal with hopelessness? Right? Mindfulness or, you know, spirituality, whatever it is, right? Hopelessness will try to keep you stuck. Hopelessness will always keep you where it's at. And, you know, it's never like I'm going away from hopelessness or going in. It's like, you know, what level of hopelessness am I in right now? And all you can really do is the best that you can in that moment with that experience, right? So if the best that you can do in that experience is challenge it for 1 minute, cool. If the best you could do is just breathe, cool. If the best you can do is just go throughout your day that day, not try to change anything or do anything, but just do the bare minimum, good. You did good that day, because that's already hard enough. Trust me, I know. Like, whatever you can do and whatever you can try to do to have some upward momentum, I think is good and means you're not stuck. Because everyone can get unstuck. Everyone can move through. Okay? So there's also like a specific... It also like... The video has to be extended because it goes through like... It's cumulative learning. So it goes through like all the different frameworks that you learn and things like in the course. And it just wouldn't make sense to have it. You know, it's almost like it puts a lot of stuff together that just wouldn't make sense in like a random YouTube video. So if you're interested in, you know, really learning about healing and finding your way through your blockages and things like that, click on the link below and it'll show you more about the course, and you can sign up for it. 2 free trainings about developing healing strategies that I'll link below, and also I'll have this YouTube channel. You can subscribe, and yeah, thank you so much for being here. I really hope that some of this helped. I'm wishing you well on your journey, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!